Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into something. Well, frankly, it's overwhelming. We're looking at a world that's not just at war.
No, it's much more than that.
It's simultaneously falling apart politically, militarily, and supernaturally, all at once.
Right. It's a complete system collapse, hitting on every level imaginable. We're talking political decay, a revolution in warfare, and this deep, hidden struggle against, well, literal forces of the night.
And it's not just about tracking battles. Our sources really paint a picture of mortal power just eroding. While these ancient, almost forgotten powers are waking up, we've pulled together a massive stack of material, incredibly detailed sources that map this out from the Grail Empire in the West.
Which is incredibly volatile, politically speaking.
All the way to the Holy Lands in the East, which are ancient, desperate, and facing their own kind of upheaval.
So our mission today really is to bring some clarity to this. We want to dissect the actual mechanics of this collapse.
How it all fits together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we need to look at two main theaters. You've got the West, the Grail Empire, the patriarchal states, decadent, imploding, really. And then the East, the Holy Lands, the Caifates unifying, rising up. But crucially, running underneath both of these is this secret war, the supernatural conflict.
The Shadow War, yeah. Okay, so to navigate this chaos, we're going to follow three key figures the sources highlight.
Good idea. Guides are essential here.
In the West, there's Captain-General Piper Hecht. He's this pragmatic veteran, gets things done. But he's about to be thrust right into the heart of imperial politics as the commander of the righteous.
A title he probably never wanted.
I doubt it. Then in the East, fighting this really personal regional war driven by revenge, we've got Nassim Alizarin. They call him the Mountain.
A fitting name given his position. A lone bulwark.
And finally, kind of overseeing the whole supernatural defense. The fight against these waking gods is Cloven Februaren, the ninth unknown. Super enigmatic figure.
Pulling strings everywhere. Magic, politics, he's involved.
Right. So it's this incredibly dense picture, isn't it? Every political move seems to have a magical countermove.
And then you throw in something as simple, relatively speaking, as artillery. Cannons. And it just reshapes everything. Faster than any emperor or patriarch can react.
Okay, let's try and unpack this convergence. Where should we start? The West, with Hecht.
Yeah, let's start there. Hecht is caught right in the middle, between the church he served and the empire that wants him. It's the perfect pivot point.
Okay, Piper Hecht. Before all this kicks off, his career seems pretty straightforward, if brutal. He's the Captain General for the Patriarchal Church.
His job is killing things. Specifically, revenants, the night forces in the Kanak, a nasty, bloody business.
Right, he's a professional soldier operating in his own sphere, but then the ground just shifts under him. Politically, personally, everything changes.
Well, and the sources really emphasize this. His sheer competence made him a problem. He was too good at his job.
Dangerous to the old guard.
Exactly, but very desirable to the rising powers. So while he's out there fighting monsters, he gets this very public offer from Empress Ketrin Edge.
Of the Grail Empire.
Right. She wants him. She wants him to leave the church, lead an imperial crusade into the Holy Lands. And not just him, she wants his whole operation, his staff, his command structure, the professionals.
And this wasn't quiet diplomacy, was it?
Not at all. The sources are clear this request became public knowledge almost immediately, which instantly turns Hecht into, well, a political football, a lightning rod.
And that throws him into this immediate loyalty crisis, doesn't it? Because he's still loyal to the church, or at least to the dying patriarch.
Deeply loyal. He respected the old patriarch, Boniface VII, calls him the best patriarch I've known. And crucially, he's sworn an oath.
To support the successor.
Yeah, to support Bellicose of Vizimant, who later becomes Patriarch Serenity as the next patriarch. The idea was to unite the church, which was fracturing. So Hecht is committed, on oath, to the church's future.
Even though he seems to really dislike the guy he's supposed to support.
That's the core of it. Hecht is a pragmatist, right? He sizes people up. His initial take on Bellicose, too stubborn for his own good.
Which, coming from Hecht, probably means militarily incompetent.
Pretty much. Inflexible. But later, his assessment gets much, much harsher. In private, Hecht just loses all respect. Calls Bellicose a vindictive prick.
Wow. So he's sworn to prop up a man he sees as petty, dangerous, incompetent.
Exactly. A man driven by malice, not strategy. That's a huge professional problem.
But the sources suggest his real crisis, the thing that actually terrifies him, isn't professional at all, it's personal.
Yeah, this is very deep. He makes this secret confession to Cloven Februaren of all people.
What does he confess?
An obsession, an overwhelming, potentially disastrous obsession with Princess Apparent Hellspeth.
The Emperor's daughter.
Well, the previous emperor's daughter, Johannes Blackboot's daughter.
Yeah.
And Hecht pins it right to the moment he saved her life at Alcazan.
He's not just attracted to her then, it's more consuming.
He uses the word terrified. He's terrified of the hold she has on him. And he says the insanity is mutual. They're writing these guarded letters back and forth.
For a man like Hecht, who's all about control, suppressing emotion, that must feel like a massive weakness.
It's the ultimate vulnerability. He can't fight it with tactics or violence.
But hang on, Hecht's known for solving problems by, killing people and burning things, as the sources put it. Why is this the thing he's scared of? Doesn't that show his whole internal system is breaking down?
I think it does. Because violence works when you're fighting monsters, or even predictable enemies within a system. But this emotional connection, it's different.
How so?
It makes it predictable. It gives his enemies leverage they can use against him, leverage he can't just eliminate. Plus, getting close to Hellspeth puts him right in the middle of the imperial court's power struggles.
Because she's a rival to the current empress, Katrin.
Exactly. Favoring Hellspeth is basically treason in Katrin's eyes. Hecht knows this obsession could lead to tragedy for him or for her, probably both. And that knowledge just paralyzes his ability to plan rationally. It's the ultimate operational risk for him. Hashtag tag 1.2, the Imperial Court of Alten-Weinberg and the succession problem.
Okay, so let's talk about that court. Alten-Weinberg. Yeah. The heart of the Grail Empire. You called it a viper's nest.
And it really seems like one. It's run by Empress Katrin Aksh. She's got immense power, but she's also, well, unstable.
Where does her power come from? Just the title.
The title helps, but it's also her lineage. She's Johannes Blackboots' daughter. That gives her huge political weight with the factions loyal to her father's memory.
And she uses that power right away to show favor to Hecht.
Immediately. Forces this wealthy noble, Bayard Weiss Stillpatter, to give up his mansion for Hecht. An 18-room place, apparently.
Not subtle.
Not at all. It's a clear signal. Hecht is her guy now, or she wants him to be. And anyone who gets in her way is going to pay. She's trying to break his ties to the church.
And then there's the royal wedding to King James of Castariga.
That's another power play. Formalizes a big military alliance, secures the dynasty. But the descriptions of the court customs around it, there's something else.
You mean the witnessing of the consummation?
Yeah. The sources describe highborn noble women literally fighting for position to watch the empress's defloration, just to provide public proof of paternity for any heir.
That's grotesque.
It is. But it shows the weird mix in the West, doesn't it? This extreme, almost artistic refinement, but applied to these bizarre, brutal necessities of keeping power. Even Hecht, who's seen the worst kinds of battlefield horror, was apparently just stunned by the cold-blooded weirdness of it all.
It definitely paints a picture of a court that's maybe losing its moral compass.
Or maybe never had one.
Oh.
And this is the backdrop for Katrin's own decline, which becomes pretty spectacular.
Right, let's get into that. It wasn't just a simple illness, was it? The sources talk about a really difficult pregnancy.
Extremely difficult. And protracted. It later comes out she carried a dead fetus for months.
Months? How did they keep that secret? And what about the rumors? Surely people suspected something was wrong. Sorcery, maybe?
Sure, the rumors were flying. Her enemies were definitely fanning the flames. The dead fetus itself was kept quiet for a while, but everyone could see she was declining. And then there's the suggestion of hereditary madness.
From her mother's side.
Yeah, apparently one of her grandfathers had a famously long, very public breakdown, 16 years of it. So you have the physical decline from the pregnancy, this potential genetic instability.
Yeah.
It fuels this narrative that she's becoming irrational.
Were those rumors about her forcing people to couple while she watched, were those credible?
Hecht himself suspected they were just enemy propaganda. But the fact that people believed them or were willing to spread them shows how much fear and distrust surrounded her. She was seen as capable of anything.
So you've got the sick empress possibly losing her mind, ruling this powerful but terrified empire, and that naturally pushes Princess Hellspeth into the spotlight.
Exactly. Hellspeth looks stable. She represents her father's policies, which many factions preferred. She's the complete opposite of Katrin's irrationality. So she becomes a rallying point for anyone opposing the Empress.
Which puts her in incredible danger.
Massive danger from Katrin's allies. But Katrin makes one last, surprisingly shrewd move before she's totally incapacitated by her illness.
What's that?
She appoints Hellspeth commander of the Righteous.
That sounds like a promotion? Giving her power.
It gives her military authority, yes. She gets to command Hecht's old forces, but it's also a cage. It locks her into a purely military role. It keeps her away from the political center, Alten-Weinberg, and gives the council advisory, who mostly dislike her, a way to counterbalance her influence. Clever, in a nasty way.
Okay, so if the Empress is falling apart, who's actually keeping the Grail Empire from completely collapsing?
Right.
The sources point to this really mysterious figure, Ferris Renfro.
Yeah, Renfro is strange. His appearance itself is almost impossible. He apparently shows up at court filthy and wounded, bringing news of the victory at Las Navas de los Fontes just hours after it happened.
Hours? But isn't that physically impossible for travel?
Completely impossible for a normal person. And that's the first big clue, isn't it? That the Empire's stability might rely on something not quite mortal.
He's an immediate puzzle. How does Hecht deal with that?
Pure pragmatism. He tells his staff, basically, don't get bogged down in the mystery. Proceed on the assumption that all Ferris Renfros are the same Ferris Renfro.
Implying he uses aliases, or maybe he's appeared at different times and places.
It suggests something unnatural, definitely. But his political function is rock solid.
Sure.
He's the guarantor of Johannes Black Boots' will and the Bill of Succession.
Meaning,
he's the legally untouchable figure ensuring the Empire follows the Founder's plan, even if Katrin goes completely mad or Elspeth stumbles. He's the secret anchor keeping the ship of state from sinking in this storm.
But there's more to him, isn't there? The sources dig much deeper. He's called the Ascendant.
Right. And this is where it gets really complex into the supernatural mechanics. Renfro is the Ascendant, specifically identifying him as Asgrimr Grimson. And crucially, he's soul-taken.
Soul-taken. What does that mean exactly?
It means he's a human who is bound, maybe cursed, maybe chosen to host an instrumentality.
An instrumentality being, like a demigod.
Essentially, yes. An ancient power or consciousness. Renfro's body is basically a vessel for something alien.
Okay, so he's a human shell for a god. Which god?
Or gods, plural. He apparently gained his power by absorbing energy from dying gods. Specifically, the All-Father and the Chooser of the slain Arlensel from the old northern pantheon.
The old gods are dying.
Fading, yeah. Their power has to go somewhere. Renfro soak it up. His whole existence is tied into this ancient mythology. And critically, the sources say he's a blood descendant needed for a specific ritual.
What ritual?
Releasing other old guys, gods who were imprisoned ages ago inside a place called the Great Sky Fortress.
Wait, so the guy quietly holding the imperial court together, ensuring the succession, he's also the key to unlocking ancient world-changing gods from their prison.
That's the incredible convergence, isn't it? Renfro's political role is directly tied to this massive underlying supernatural plot. The Empire's crisis is just waiting time until the conditions are right to free these gods.
So the mortal power struggles Hecht is caught up in, they're almost secondary.
Almost irrelevant in the grand scheme, yeah. It shows the political chaos in the West isn't separate from the magical war. The Ascendant is the Empire's secret backbone, but only because he's a necessary piece in a game far older and bigger than any mortal empire. Hecht and the others are just starting to realize the scale of what's really going on.
Okay, let's shift gears then. From the cosmic scale of gods and soul-taken back down to the mud and blood, to the military revolution that Hecht understands very well. Firepower. Cannons.
Yeah, the Falcon. It's basically a mobile piece of artillery, and this marks a huge shift. Military power is moving away from knights in shining armor.
Towards industrial production, forges, and chemistry.
Exactly. Now, initially, against the night creatures, Hecht was used to fighting. The Falcon wasn't a game changer. The sources say its main value was loud noises and a lot of smoke.
Psychological impact, then.
Huge psychological impact. But more importantly, it signals this massive shift away from individual combat, heroic duels, toward industrialized mass killing from a distance.
And this whole revolution depends on who can actually make the stuff, right? Logistics, manufacturing.
Absolutely critical. The sources name the Davidians, specifically the Kharoulke and Snuygen works. They mastered casting iron tubes.
Iron being the key.
Best metal for it. Durable. It lets the cannons fire repeatedly without blowing up, unlike older bronze ones. And then there's Artesipi. That region is the main source for natural saltpeter.
Which you need for the fire powder itself.
Right. So if you control the iron casting and the saltpeter supply, you control the future of warfare.
But the sources say this immediately caused a huge problem. Piracy. Proliferation.
Yeah, the manufacturers figured out pretty quickly they could make way more money selling the stuff off the books than sticking to their government contracts.
So they were selling cannons and powder to
anyone
with the cash. The basic recipe for fire powder wasn't exactly top secret. Apothecaries knew it. But making stable powder, casting reliable iron tubes, that took expertise. But once that expertise started leaking, the weapons spread like wildfire.
Including to the Patriarch's enemies, and maybe eventually the East.
That was the fear. And it drove Hecht to act decisively when he got control of the Kharoulke and Snagan works.
What did he do?
Pure ruthlessness. He gathered the likely successors, the managers, the people who'd inherit the business, and he threatened their families. Basically told them, I'm not feeling especially sympathetic today. Stop selling off the books, honor your contracts or else.
He saw the long-term danger.
Perfectly. Letting this tech spread uncontrolled meant future wars would be exponentially deadlier. It would erase the military advantage the Empire and the patriarchal forces currently had. He tried to put the genie back in the bottle. Did it work?
Not really, no. The technology was out. He might have slowed it down and forced some contracts, but ultimately the proliferation continued.
And the consequences of this new tech become terrifyingly clear almost immediately. At the Shades Massacre.
Yeah, this is Hecht's new force, the righteous, disciplined veterans facing off against Patriarch Serenity's followers.
Serenity being the new title for bellicose Bronte Dinedo.
Right. And his followers are described as the Bruthen mob, maybe 20,000 strong. Huge numbers.
So Hecht is outnumbered.
Heavily outnumbered. And he knows this isn't a battle of maneuver or knights charging. His strategy is purely defensive. Industrial warfare.
What does that mean in practice?
He finds a strong defensive spot in the Shades and relies entirely on his falcons. Massed, concentrated fire, designed to create what he called that nasty surprise.
So not trying to win heroically, just inflict maximum damage.
Exactly. It's attrition. Using firepower as a tool to simply butcher the enemy ranks.
And a result.
An absolute slaughter. The sources call it the worst day's butchery in Feraldia since the collapse of the Old Empire. It wasn't just a defeat. It was a psychological shattering for the survivors.
Why psychological?
Because they didn't blame it on sorcery, which is what they usually feared. They blamed it on the massed machines of destruction, the sheer impersonal efficiency of the cannons.
And that's the crucial point, isn't it? This technology basically makes noble knights obsolete.
Completely strips them of their traditional value on the battlefield. Think about it. Historically, a wealthy knight in full plate armor trained for years, almost untouchable by peasant soldiers. Now, any common soldier operating a cannon can kill that same knight from hundreds of yards away, easily. It just completely upends the social and military order. Feudalism relies on the highborn warrior being dominant.
If their blood is spilled just as easily as anyone else's, what's their claim to rule based on?
Exactly. It's the death knell for chivalry, for that whole way of war in society. And the political fallout for the loser Bronte Dinedo, now Patriarch Serenity, was immense.
It finished him with his own followers.
Totally discredited him with the Bruthen mob, damaged his standing in the Collegium too. It showed he wasn't just ruthless, he was incompetent. He led 20,000 people into a meat grinder against modern weapons, a catastrophic failure.
Which you mentioned becomes leverage later on.
Huge leverage for someone like Februaren. Hashtag 2.3 family insecurity in the modern age.
Now, all this high-level politics and warfare, it has personal consequences for Hecht too, doesn't it? Especially with his family.
Yeah, moving into this central role means his private life is now a vulnerability. He has this sort of makeshift family, Anna Muzilla, his adopted son Pella, and adopted daughters Leela and Vali.
And the sources say he feels deeply connected to them.
Incredibly so. He apparently aches with longing for Anna, misses them more than his actual biological daughters and wife, who seem almost forgotten.
But that affection makes them targets, right?
A massive liability in this world. He's constantly worried about enemies using them against him, and that fear becomes real.
When Anna's house is attacked.
Right. Attacked by instrumentality minions, sent by Bronte Dinedo, Patriarch Serenity.
So not just random monsters. These were directed.
The sources are specific.
Yeah.
They were night flakes, specially created from night things, then trained by a sorcerer. This shows Serenity's own magical power and his willingness to use targeted supernatural violence against Hecht's family. The Shadow War is literally hitting home.
And the kids themselves seem to represent different aspects of this new world. Pella.
Pella is all action, wants to be like his dad, but he disobeys orders during the attack, creates a security breach that lets the Night Flakes in. He's brave, but reckless, eventually runs away, trying to head back to Sansa.
A physical liability. But Leela, the daughter.
Leela's different. She's described as a genius with a construct.
The magical travel device Februaren uses.
Exactly, which makes her incredibly valuable in the supernatural sphere. It directly links Hecht's family to the secret war being run by his sister, Heris, and Februaren. Leela's an asset in magic, while Pel's a risk in the physical world.
So Hecht can't separate his roles anymore. His military pragmatism is tangled up with dark magic hitting his home. His family is either a weak point needing soldiers or a potential magical weapon needing sorcerers.
There's no separation. The political, the military, the magical, it's all converging right on his doorstep, centered on the people he cares about most.
Okay, let's shift focus now. Leave the decaying West and head east to the Holy Lands. Ancient ground, constant conflict. And here we find Nassim Alizarin, the mountain.
Yeah, Nassim's holding this lonely outpost, Tel Musa. And unlike Hecht, who's caught in grand strategy, Nassim is fighting a deeply personal war.
Against his former friend.
Gortimer the Lion, yeah.
Yeah.
Marshal the Sha-lug. It all stems from the murder of Nassim's son, Hecht. So this whole regional conflict for Nassim is fundamentally about revenge.
And his location, Tel Musa, is strategically important.
Hugely. It's built on ancient ruins, overlooks a Kharoulke military road, and nearby is Garrig,
The Crusader fortress.
described as a place no mere mortal could hope to capture. Manned by the Brotherhood of War, these absolute fanatics. So Nassim's vigil isn't just military, it's like a spiritual staring contest across this ancient landscape.
And the landscape itself is loaded with significance, isn't it? The Wells of Irion.
Right. Nassim contemplates this a lot. These wells, remembrance, atonement, places like that, they define the plane of judgment.
The place where Armageddon is supposed to happen?
According to 4 different religions in the area, yeah. This is ground zero for the final battle between God and the adversary. It's not just strategic, it's mythic territory.
And after years of fighting there, seeing the endless bloodshed, Nassim starts questioning it all.
Profoundly. He develops this really dangerous heresy. He looks at the constant suffering inflicted on the Holy Lands, all in the name of these divine prophecies, and he starts to wonder.
Wonder what?
If maybe the land itself is trying to get rid of humanity. He wonders if the wells aren't closing down deliberately so the land can shake off its human lice.
Wow, that's bleak. Is that just battlefield cynicism or something deeper, a real philosophical shift?
I think the sources suggest it's deeper, born from trauma, definitely, but it feels like a genuine breakthrough. He's basically saying maybe the divine architecture, the wells of power, are actively rejecting humans because all we do is bring conflict and suffering in their name.
Challenging the whole idea of perpetual holy war, maybe humanity is the real problem.
That's the implication. It's a total inversion of the established theology. And that kind of spiritual crisis makes him a deeply unpredictable commander.
Adding to his problems is his opponent, Gortimer the Lion. Still a capable general, despite issues.
Yeah, Gortimer's apparently gone downhill personally, alienated people. But his military genius is intact, which makes him a constant, dangerous threat to Nassim. And like the conflicts in the West, this one's also getting tangled with dark arts.
Gortimer's using sorcery.
He's terrified by prophecies about his own doom, and that fear makes him rely heavily on this sorcerer, Rashal al-Dulkarnan, the rascal they call him.
For protection. Counterspells.
Preemptive stuff, yeah. Trying to manipulate fate. And the really shocking thing is, the rascal is a declared enemy of God.
So Gortimer's turning to literal dark magic for military advantage.
It shows the moral state of the conflict, doesn't it? Winning is all that matters, even if it means aligning with forces condemned by your own faith. Total desperation. Hashtag 3.2, the campaign against Black Roger and Garrig.
Okay, so Nassim's immediate problem isn't Gortimer, it's his other guy, Black Roger du Tancred in Garrig. He committed some kind of major offense.
A calculated insult, really. Using the impregnable fortress of Garrig, not just for defense, but to deliberately humiliate the Kaifate nobility. He force-captured caravan guests, including granddaughters of the brother of Indala al-Sulhaladun, the rising Kaifate leader, to dine in Garrig, served by lepers.
Lepers. That carries a huge stigma there, right?
Immense, socially, religiously. It was an act of profound contempt. Indala couldn't possibly let that stand without losing all authority. Roger had to be dealt with.
So Nassim has to act, but he's short on resources.
Very limited. He has to rely on this new fire powder tech, but he gets it through smuggling, salvaging. He uses a falcon, a cannon, but it's mounted on a goat cart. Purloined from Sha-lug stores, apparently.
And he doesn't have much ammunition.
Enough powder and shot for maybe a dozen shots. And the cannon itself is bronze.
Not iron like Hecht's.
No. And the sources explicitly say the bronze wouldn't survive many discharges. It highlights the difference, right? Nassim's using the revolutionary tech, but with inferior makeshift gear. Shows the disadvantage the East is starting from.
So how does the attack go down? It sounds kind of chaotic, a martyr involved, an unexpected explosion.
It was messy. Seems like a martyr named Amble was part of a spontaneous assault, and there was this huge fire powder explosion that even Nassim didn't fully expect.
That doesn't sound like Nassim's usual careful planning. Was it desperation?
Maybe less desperation, more needing a political win rather than a purely military one. He needed to show Indala he was effective, that he could strike back. The sheer force of the explosion, almost looking like divine intervention, was exactly the kind of result that would impress the Kaifates.
Did it work? Did it hurt Roger?
It injured him badly. Loss of hearing, balance problems. The Brotherhood of War, who run Garrig, demand absolute physical perfection from their commanders. So because of his disabilities, they kicked Roger out.
So Nassim achieved his goal, removed the immediate problem.
He did, but the victory was short-lived. The vacuum was filled almost instantly by someone worse.
Ooh.
Ancelin of Manand, younger brother of King Regard from the west. He arrives as the new castellan, bringing a big contingent of fresh western troops. Garrig instantly becomes a major threat again. Nassim's a chaotic little victory, just bought a little time. Hashtag tag 3.3 Indala's Great Campaign and Future Holy Wars.
Right, because while Nassim's dealing with Garrig, the bigger picture in the East is this great campaign led by Indala al-Sul Halaluddin.
Exactly. This is the main event. Indala's goal is huge. Unify the different, often squabbling Kaifates al-Minfet, Khazar al-Zed into a single, powerful entity.
How's he planning to do that?
By invading Drenger and capturing the key city of El-Qarn. It's a massive military undertaking aimed at creating a unified caliphate strong enough to resist the Western Crusaders.
And Nassim's role at Tel Musa becomes critical here.
Absolutely vital. By holding that position, fighting his personal war, he effectively shields Indala's western flank, prevents enemy caravans, stops reconnaissance getting through, he conceals the massive troop movements Indala is making further north and east.
So Indala's campaign is succeeding.
It's progressing, but slowly. And the main reason it's slow and difficult is Gortimer the Lion.
Still causing problems, even while relying on sorcerers.
His military mind is still sharp. Despite his personal failings and dabbling in dark arts, he's expertly countering Indala's moves. He's the perfect spoiler for the unification effort.
And Gortimer's reliance on the sorcerer, Arashal al-Dukornan, continues because of the prophecies.
Yes, he's still terrified of his prophesied doom, so he keeps the rascal close for magical countermeasures. Which means dark magic is woven into every major military move in the East now. They're sacrificing theological purity for tactical advantage.
So what's the end game here? You've got a unifying Kaifate under Indala, getting better armed, preparing for a holy war.
Poised to strike back against the Crusaders in Garrig and probably push further west.
While in the west, the Grail Empire under Hecht and Helspeth is gearing up for its own crusade heading east.
It's an inevitable collision course. These regional conflicts are about to merge into one massive intercontinental war, and it's going to be fought with both modern cannons and ancient sorcery. The scale is unprecedented.
Okay, we need to pull back again. Look underneath all this mortal conflict at the real existential threat, the forces of the night. And the sources single out one entity, Kharoulke the Windwalker, called the ultimate instrumentality.
Right, let's clarify instrumentality again. It's an ancient god or demigod bound somehow to the physical world, maybe through a human host like Renfro, or maybe to a place or concept.
Okay, so why is Kharoulke the ultimate one?
Because he's the god of winter, and his power is directly linked to the world decaying. As the wills of power of the Earth's life force weaken, as the climate gets colder, he gets stronger.
A feedback loop. The world dying feeds him.
Exactly. And he's not passive. He's described as a devourer. He actively preys on weaker, more benign instrumentalities, absorbing their power. So the worse things get, the more powerful and predatory he becomes. Terrifying.
But Februaren and his allies managed to fight back. They weakened him.
They staged this desperate counterattack. And afterwards, Kharoulke was left stranded, beached on a stony shore in Andorre for over a month, severely weakened, in constant pain.
Why pain? What weakened him?
The seawater. Apparently, for a god of ice and cold, the seawater acted like acid on his skin. It suggests this deep, elemental opposition.
And the description. Gigantic, lard-toed tadpole.
Grotesque, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shows how diminished he was,
Yeah.
immensely vulnerable.
But not completely helpless. He still had followers.
8 priests, described as mad and dedicated, but they were weakening along with him. and 2 kryptonites.
Kryptonites, like the Soul Taken.
Feeble imitations, apparently.
Yeah.
Small, low-grade versions of the real thing, like Renfro. Hastily made. The fact he only had these weak protectors shows how low his power levels were.
So what was the immediate danger then if he was so weak?
Even weakened, he could still project his senses, detect the attack Februaren was planning. The main fear wasn't that he'd suddenly recover fully, but that he'd regain just enough strength to use his power over cold.
To do what?
To freeze the water between Andorre and the Gateway. Basically, create an impassable ice barrier that would block access to the Great Sky Fortress, doing the entire mission to free the old gods. Hashtag 4.2 Cloven Februaren, the Ninth Unknown, and the Construct.
Which brings us back to Cloven Februaren, the Ninth Unknown, mastermind of this secret war.
He's the pivot. His mission here was twofold. First, find the missing piece needed for the ritual Arlensol's half-god, who they now know as Ferris Renfro Scrimmer.
The Ascendant.
Right. And second, launch the preemptive strike to take out Kharoulke before he could block the way.
And his main tool for this is the Construct, along with Heris, Hecht's sister.
Yeah, Heris is a capable sorcerer in her own right. The Construct. Okay, this is complex magic. It's a mechanism, maybe metaphysical, maybe partly physical, that lets them translate.
Translate how?
Travel sideways through the night. The night being this hidden dimension layered over our reality. It's like they're using complex math, geometry to fold space and step outside normal time and distance.
What's that like for them when they're translating?
The sources say they see the world in shades of red and dark. And everything in the normal mortal world seems to move incredibly slowly, like 1,000th of normal speed. They're operating outside of time, effectively, in limbo.
Which gives them huge advantages. Instant travel, spying.
Tactical foresight, manipulation. They can see and influence events without being detected by ordinary people. And it's through the construct they learn more about the instrumentalities themselves.
Oh, so?
The Ascendant, Renfro, explains it. Instrumentalities have 2 souls. One anchors them in our physical world, the other anchors them specifically in the night, in limbo.
Like a metaphysical tether.
Exactly. And when Februaren or Heris are using the construct traveling through the night, they can actually see these other souls, described as hideous souls. It explains why releasing an instrumentality is so complex. You have to deal with that anchor in the night.
But using this power takes a toll, even on Februaren.
A massive toll. The sources say the climb to the Great Sky Fortress, using the construct, was literally killing him. It shows the immense strain involved, even for the most powerful sorcerer.
Yet he still has time for mischief, like making Hecht belch uncontrollably.
Yeah. During that really awkward meeting with Patriarch Serenity. But it wasn't just a prank.
Yeah.
It was strategic. A distraction. Februaren knew Serenity had dark secrets imprisoning enemies, including Hecht's son Pella, in his cellar. The belching was partly to rattle Hecht, maybe, but mostly to subtly terrorize Serenity, letting him know Februaren knew things. Psychological warfare using minor magic. Hashtag 4.3, the realm of the gods and the Glen Cook.
Okay, so to fight Kharoulke, Februaren needed more than just his own power and Heris. They needed allies. They traveled to the realm of the gods.
Yeah, via this golden barge.
Yeah.
A place where magic is just everywhere. And their key allies there are the Glen Cook.
Who are often called dwarves in the myths.
Right. But they're described as non-mortal, peerless magical architects. They're the ones who originally built the Great Sky Fortress where the old gods are imprisoned.
Are they usually involved in mortal affairs?
No, they're extremely isolationist. But they agreed to help fight Kharoulke because he was a threat to the balance of the night itself. An existential threat they couldn't ignore.
So describe the expedition. Februaren, Heris, the Ascendant, and these magical dwarves going after a weakened god.
It was still incredibly tough. The Glen Cook couldn't use the construct, apparently, so they had to be sailed part of the way. Took 2 weeks due to bad weather, then trek across ice. Their weapons were specialized too. Glen Cook ballistae.
Magical siege engines.
Designed specifically to harm a god. And this is where Heris really shines.
Piper Hecht's sister.
Yeah, she takes command of the artillery operation. They're firing these special shafts made of ice or marble, filled with lead darts at Kharoulke. Her first shot makes his skin bubble like hot tar.
She's clearly powerful, like her niece Leela, potentially.
Shows where Leela might get it from, yeah. Heris is the one who delivers the killing blow. It causes this massive explosion, not just physical, but metaphysical. Leaves a void, a sorrow in the fabric of the night, the absence of an ancient being.
And afterwards she collects the god's egg. What's that?
Seems to be a critical artifact, something left behind when an instrumentality is destroyed. Probably contains residual power or essence. Hugely important, though the sources don't detail its immediate use.
Now, why was the Ascendant, Ferrus Renfro, essential for this whole operation?
His bloodline. He's the blood descendant required for the next phase, releasing the old gods from the Great Sky Fortress. The fight against Kharoulke was basically clearing the path for that main event.
So Renfro needs to control the gods inside him, the Allfather, Arlansul, to break the prison walls.
That seems to be the mechanism. His unique nature, hosting these specific instrumentalities, combined with his bloodline, makes him the key to unlocking the fortress. Without him, the old gods stay locked up.
But even with Kharoulke defeated, there's a problem with the plan to sustain the released gods.
A major, tragic problem. In this magical garden, in the realm of the gods, they find a golden apple tree, or rather, a single unhealthy shoot of one.
Golden apples, like in mythology, food of the gods.
Exactly. The old gods will need this fruit to sustain themselves once they're back in the mortal world, but the shoot is sickly. The Ascendant himself believes it might never produce fruit in a human lifetime.
So they won the battle, maybe, but the ultimate goal seems doomed.
It casts a huge shadow over the victory. They might free the gods only for them to wither and fade anyway, because their essential sustenance isn't available. A very bittersweet success. Hashtag tag 4.4 instrumentalities and divine blood.
Let's just make sure we've got this concept of instrumentalities clear. Renfro explained they have two souls, one anchoring them in the night.
Right, which is why sorcerers, using the construct, can perceive them differently, see that hideous soul. It's fundamental to how they exist across dimensions.
And these aren't static beings. You said they're becoming more predatory, like Kharoulke?
That seems to be the trend. Kharoulke wasn't just existing. He was actively devouring weaker instrumentalities to fuel himself. It suggests the nature of the threat is evolving, becoming more aggressive, more dangerous. It's not just about ancient powers existing. It's about them actively consolidating power by consuming each other.
And Renfro, being one herself, sees the danger from Mortis, too.
Yeah, he warns Hecht specifically. Says mortals are looking for them, wanting to quicken them, hoping to become them.
Pointing finger.
Explicitly mentions Rashal al-Dulkornen, the sorcerer working with Gordimer in the east. It directly links the Eastern military conflict back to this wider supernatural crisis.
So powerful humans are actively trying to create more instrumentalities to gain godlike power.
That's the implication, seeking to bind these entities to themselves or create new ones, which is incredibly dangerous, obviously. It just escalates the whole conflict.
It really puts the mortal wars in perspective, doesn't it? Hecht versus Serenity and Dela versus Gordimer. It all seems like a sideshow compared to this war of gods, sorcerers, and the fate of reality itself.
It absolutely does. The geopolitical chess game is being played on a board where the pieces themselves are starting to wake up and rewrite the rules.
Okay, let's try and weave these threads back together now. The military changes, the political rot, the magic underneath. Starting back with Patriarch Serenity Bronte de Neto. He actually managed to become Patriarch despite the Shade's disaster.
He did. And the sources emphasize he's the most powerful sorcerer to hold that office in 2 centuries. Ruthlessly ambitious, deeply paranoid. He keeps his private life his mistress, Carmela Domitia, completely separate from the holy city, Croy.
And he has literal skeletons in his closet. Or cellar.
Quite literally. He imprisoned his political enemies, including a former high-ranking church official, a principate, and even briefly held Hecht's adopted son, Pella, down there. Dark secrets.
Which Februaren uses against him.
Masterfully. Februaren doesn't need a direct confrontation. He uses manipulation, terror. First, Serenity's mistress, Carmela, is murdered. By whom? Unknown assassin.
But Februaren spins it.
Or his allies do. They leverage the murder immediately. Frame it as supernatural retribution, a warning from a power far beyond Serenity's own magic. It's designed purely to terrify the Patriarch, make him feel vulnerable.
And the terror campaign doesn't stop there. There's an explosion.
Right. An explosion destroys the north wall of Serenity's townhouse. And the sources hint strongly it was Februaren's network, using a keg of firepowder that went missing from Croyce itself, blending the new military tech with the magical intimidation.
Turning Serenity's own weapons against him, symbolically.
Exactly. And these two hits the murder, the bombing they work. Serenity spirals into panic, which is precisely what Februaren wanted.
Why? What does Februaren gain from Serenity panicking?
2 things. First, it proves Serenity's sorcery is useless against these unseen forces breaking his confidence. Second, it makes Serenity desperate. He throws all his resources into hunting the Ascendant, finding magical artifacts basically, doing Februarin's intelligence gathering for him, indirectly helping the larger mission.
And Serenity's panic also makes him fixate on revenge.
Completely fixated. He ignores all advice from the Collegium. His sole focus becomes punishing Count Raymond Garet and the Khanek's old ally, even though that conflict should technically be winding down. He pours all military planning into that secondary theater for the next spring, setting up another pointless, bloody crusade driven purely by his wounded pride. Hashtag 5.2 War in the Khanek and the Rise of Queen Elizabeth.
So the Khanek becomes this separate war zone, driven by personal vendettas, not just Serenity's.
Right. Anne of Menand launches her own crusade there too, mostly out of personal ambition and revenge. She sends forces into the Khanek against Hecht's former allies like Raymond Garet.
Did she think Hecht would just let her?
Apparently she genuinely believed her cause was righteous and Hecht would just step aside. A massive miscalculation.
Because Raymond Garet fights back.
Fiercely. He and this figure, Sha, become symbols of defiance against foreign invaders. And Sha, she's terrifying.
Oh, so?
The sources reveal she's a blood drinker. Driven by pure vengeance. She personally beheads captured nobles and knights, burns captured churchmen alive. It's total war, using extreme brutality to demoralize the invaders.
Just absolute horror. And amidst all this, the old political structure is crumbling. Duke Tormund
V is dying. He sends tokens to Count Raymond via this Brother Candle figure. Tormund seems haunted, having seen glimpses of the future through the night. He confesses regrets, predicts great sorrow is coming. Fire will scourge the Khanek. His death leaves a huge power vacuum.
King Peter is distracted or beaten. Who steps up?
Queen Elizabeth of Navarre. She's shrewd. King Peter is sidelined, so she establishes herself as queen mother for her son, and she acts decisively.
Oh.
She arrests the local colony's militia leaders, finds out they took bribes from Anne of Menand's faction of the society to throw the fight. Then she prepares to defend the city herself, not just against invaders, but against her own Nevian lords who might try to occupy Cairhien.
She's restoring order, pragmatically.
Exactly. She sees the old system is broken and moves quickly to build a new one around her son's legitimate claim. She's the opposite of Empress Catherine's madness, practical, clear-eyed leadership emerging from the chaos. Hashtag 5.3, the path to the next crusade.
So for Hecht watching all this, the world must seem like it's just collapsing into multiple wars at once.
That's exactly the picture. He learns Indala's great campaign in the East is actually working, unifying the Caifates. Indala is preparing his own massive crusade. Hecht's reaction is grim. Can't be good for us.
And meanwhile, back in the Grail Empire, despite Empress Catherine being completely unstable, the madness, the dead air, the irrationality, the Empire is still committed to its crusade.
Incredibly, yes. The momentum's too strong, or maybe Renfro is ensuring it stays on track behind the scenes. Hecht, the ultimate professional soldier, is ordered to move troops into the Eastern Empire, prepare the routes, a move that apparently surprises everyone, given the chaos back home.
He just has to follow orders, even from a potentially mad empress.
He's bound by his new role. He has to execute the imperial will, however volatile the source of that will might be.
So we're left with, what, 3 massive crusades all gearing up?
Pretty much. You've got the Grail Empire Crusade, led by Hecht and Helspeth heading east. You've got Patriarch Serenity's vengeful crusade targeting Raymond and the Khanek. And you've got Indala's newly unified Caifates preparing their own holy war against the Westerners.
All fueled by revenge, ambition, firepower.
And all happening while the forces of the night are stirring, instrumentalities are waking up, and sorcerers are manipulating events from the shadows. It feels utterly inevitable that these conflicts are going to collide.
And the result will be worse than anything before.
Far worse. The efficiency of the new weapons, combined with the power of ancient magic and gods, it guarantees destruction on a scale they've never seen. The old rules are gone. Hashtag tag outro. So if we try to synthesize everything we've covered today, it's a massive convergence. You really see 3 interconnected conflicts driving events.
Right. First, Hecht's story. His rise, caught in the Empire's political decay, marked by that brutal shift in warfare at the Shades Massacre.
Then second, Nassim's war in the East. Personal revenge escalating into a vital strategic front for Indala's huge unification campaign. A regional fire becoming part of a continental blaze.
And third, underneath it all, the secret war. Februaren and Heris, the Aelin Kofur, fighting gods like Kharoulke, preparing for the even bigger event of freeing the old gods, with Renfro as the unwilling, powerful key.
And running through all three is the spread of simple tech firepower and the reemergence of high sorcery and ancient gods, completely rewriting the rules for everyone.
We definitely uncovered some shocking details. Empress Catherine's decline, the hereditary madness, the dead fetus, the sorcery rumors, the sheer cold butchery of the Shades battle, making knights worthless overnight.
And the hidden work. Piper Hecht's own sister working with mythical dwarves, using magical ballistae to kill a god on some remote beach. It's staggering. A world where cannons and spells are equally reshaping reality.
Yeah, high sorcery and basic gunpowder side by side, changing everything.
Which leads us to that final thought, maybe for you, the listener. Februaren describes even powerful figures like Piper Hecht as slaves of circumstance. His emotions are a liability, his family a target. And we know the forces of the night are literally anchored by hidden souls in another dimension, in limbo. So in a world like that, what does free will even mean? Is anyone truly in control? Or is everyone from the Captain General fighting his own obsessions to the Mad Empress to the scheming sorcerer to the vengeful warrior in the East? Are they all just pawns?
Pawns being moved across that plane of judgment.
Moved by forces they don't understand. In a divine game dictated by the needs and decaying powers of these awakening ancient gods.
Definitely something to think about. Until our next deep dive.